toxic wastes.
We're just generally concerned to see what kind of things have washed up in this particular area, and we're observing that these layers that we're scraping off the top of seem very layered with a variety of different colored materials that go from a light sandy to kind of a brown color and some kind of dark brown to black colors.
And is that not typical?
No, that would suggest there are things layered in the sand. If this was just an ordinary nice beach, you'd expect it to be fairly homogeneously just sand.
Well, you've done this now several places after many different storms. What's the usefulness and the utility of doing this for community groups?
This determines what kind of chemicals were brought on shore, particularly from the sediments and the water bodies, and then the information is useful to the community to try and prevent future exposure.
Is that brownish stuff, like, is that lead? Is that how lead looks? Or it doesn't look a certain way?
It don't look a certain way. It's kind of gray, right?
That kind of brownish stuff.
It's natural as cement board, so I wasn't sure how much cement was in it.
You can set your jar on it, Matt, just what holds the water out.
We selling things with their wood stoves on.
I'm Robert, and I'm getting a dioxin and a PCBs sample.
It's possible that some of this material is simply stuff that comes off the ships that pass by and wash up in the tide, but it's also possible that it's come up with the sediment. But we wanted to sample this area because we thought it would be somewhat different from the other areas in town that are closer to Galveston Bay rather than being out near the open water. And they're further away from as much of this kind of ship traffic.
This?
Yeah.
Looks like bamboo.
Yeah, it is. Now you getting a nice layer like I did? Yeah, you are.
I watched
See, it's brown underneath.
Yeah,
And
I watched it. I watched it. They're probably washed. So you mean the front and all that stuff?
Sorry.
John, I hope that you didn't take your gloves off.
You're supposed to be wearing gloves. I should be wearing gloves. No.
No problem.
I'll use a handy wipe.
Yeah.
I am cushioning the bottles for transport. We are now placing them in watertight bags to ensure that if there is any moisture or condensation in the ice chest, that it will be protected from contamination. Thank you.
And you already have a spoon in the water. Alright. Let me hold it while you do yours. Or you can wear do them next. Let's do
Okay,
it.
'cause I didn't do it.
Let's do a fresh one. Yeah. Just checking.
I'm just sort of making notes as far as who took what sample where.
Do a contest here, right? One, just keep,
The back.
I have
Robert?
Yes.
addicted to the shindig. Chopped up, he says I'm gonna win big. Choose not to life of imitation.
Okay, we're in a residential location near Ferry Road, which leads to the Galveston to Bolivar ferry landing. So we're kind of at the far east end of the residentially occupied part of Galveston Island. We're at a home, 1421 Harbor View Drive, which is in that location. It's fairly close to the water, and we're going to be sampling here. We have found a covered child's sandbox that has a very distinct layer of sediment on top of the play sand, so we're going to sample that.
That's all I'm saying.
Can't stop, addicted to the shindig. Chopped up, he says I'm gonna win big. Choose not to life of imitation. Distant closer to the reservation. Defunct the pistol that you pay for. Just pump the feeling that you're stable. In time I want to be a best man. East side love is living on the west end.
Here, I'll hold it on the ground.
No, it was who are you? Sorry.
73.
We're located at 19th and Church, and we are adjacent. This is where the water level was quite deep, coming in off of the bay, coming in from harbor side. And as you can see from the water line, it was approximately 6 feet deep here. One of our concerns is that even though remediation has been going on for quite some time, it's still everywhere. You can see, I'm not sure if you can see, but directly underneath the church, that's all the dirt. That's not been remediated. In many cases, the remediation does not extend to under the houses, so we can assume that the sediment sludge is going to persist for some time. As it is here, this has clearly not been addressed. And the adjacent area is the ventilation system. So, so there's still the potential for human exposure long after the floodwaters have subsided.
This site here is Plum Terrace, and this is the housing development. It's for low to moderate income people. It houses about 500 families, and they all, as you can see, they all are still displaced. And they don't know whether they're gonna do away with these or they're gonna rebuild them. That's the $1 million question right now. So, and we're out here testing to see what all is the water has brought into the houses, and see what if it's safe or what they need to do to get this straight on this side. I bet it is.
Matt Stanford, I'm from Galveston, Texas. I work at St. Vincent's House, but we're on this site because this is the place that they took all of the debris, materials from the flood after the storm, Hurricane Ike, and it stayed here piled up for a couple of weeks. And they brought in big grinding machines to grind it all down so they could haul it away. And we're testing to see whether there are any toxic materials that got left over in the ground. We're sure some of it got blown around when the grinders were here. But we're just testing to make sure that if there is anything here, somebody can understand it and then maybe do something about it.
Yeah, this stuff that's kind of hanging together.
That'll be me.
Don't need the paint chips.
We saw this sample as we were walking away from collecting the first one. And what's intriguing about it is the way the surface material is dried and is peeling up, which suggests that something is causing it to hold together. So that's because this area was one in which they ground up a lot of the debris. We're concerned about fibrous material, which could include wood fibers or asbestos, as possibly being what's making this surface material behave the way it is. So we're collecting a sample of it that we'll have tested for asbestos.
We're here at the location of 55th and Avenue O because this is a representative site for the sludge that came out of English Bayou, which is directly adjacent to Offutt's Bayou, but on the other side of 61st Street. The water here was quite deep. It was deposited a fairly thick layer of sediment sludge. This house inside took on over 4 feet of water, which, in considering it's already built up about 2.5 feet off the ground, and she had somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 feet.
Hey, brothers. What's going on, bro? I'm gonna take some samples.
We're sampling here at Schreiber Flagship Park because it's one of the newest and the largest parks that's heavily utilized, and therefore could be a source of public health problems if there is indeed contaminated soil. It's also directly adjacent to Oppie Elementary School, which is one of the largest elementary schools on the island, and we were very concerned about exposures that might be sustained on the grounds of the school as well as here at the park.
Hello, Brian.
What brings you to these parks today?
Toxic waste.
What about toxic waste?
It's everywhere. We're in the park over here, and where children play, and we're making sure that it is safe enough for them. There are no toxins that could harm them and make them sick. Heavy metals, PCBs, arsenic, all types of things, lead, cadmium, chromium, all types of heavy metals, and maybe PCBs that could harm the children.
And where are you off to next?
I'm off home now.